I don't have to tell you about the apparent chaos that's going on in the world right now. Whether you have a cell phone, watch the news on your TV, or even have family and friends that want to tell you about all the negative things that are happening in the world, a lot of people know about it. And so sometimes you can't even escape it. And what I am here to talk about and teach you is how to have your own sovereignty or your own peace while things are popping off in the world. Let me tell you about the apparent chaos. There are many people that knew this was coming. As a matter of fact, I've been talking about the current situation that we have in the world since 2016. In 2016, I received a lot of downloads or intuition or knowledge about earth changes, political uprisings, and many of the illnesses that have come onto the planet and that we're aware of. And so all of these things, including financial crisis, banking issues, these things I knew about in 2016. And what did I do with that information? Well, I had to go to a peaceful place because a lot of that information, let me tell you, it was unsettling. It was crazy. And it was something that I wasn't familiar with. In other words, this information that was coming through was not part of my regular everyday communication, let me tell you. And so after I received all of these things that are happening right now, I knew that I needed to get myself and my family prepared for no matter what happens. And so walking into the unknown can be scary, but what I want to teach you is how to do that, how to navigate these chaotic times with a peaceful heart and a peaceful mind. And that's not easy. It does take practice, but as long as you have the knowledge of how to do that, then you're better off than 99% of the people that just go with the chaos. So let's talk about some of the things that are going on and some of the downloads that I received in 2016. So, as you know, the United States is going through a change. It's going through an awakening. And what does that mean? That means that when we were little and we were raised in the United States, we were taught that America is apple pie, white picket fences, baseball, freedom for all, the home of the brave. All of those things are stories that we were taught about America. And that if you go to college, you get a good job, you raise a family on that income, and then you're just set. You can buy a car, you can have 2.5 kids, you can have a house in the suburbs, whatever that story was, we were taught that so that we would buy into the system. And sure enough, we did. Many of us went to college, and what we found out is that we were in debt afterwards. So yes, we have that 4-year degree, and then you're asked to get another degree on top of that. So not only are you in debt for the 4-year degree, but now you're in debt for the 2-year master's, or maybe you went on to do a doctorate. And maybe it was safer in school because school was predictable. And as soon as you get out of school, you're asked to pay back that loan at an interest rate. But wait a minute, what happened to that car that I want? What happened to the car insurance that I'm supposed to get? Isn't that part of the American dream? And what about that mortgage on that house and that interest rate? And I'm paying back $300,000, maybe $200,000 in student loans. That's not an American dream, that's a nightmare. But we were sold that bill of goods, and most of that money goes to the government because they're government student loans. So it seems like a trap. And so all of those things are popping off in this generation, and even my generation paying back student loans still in their 50s and 60s. That's unheard of, and it's crazy. Now, what happens when you can't buy the car and you can't pay the mortgage? Well, you rely on other forms of transportation like Uber or Lyft or getting rides from friends, or even what's coming down the pike is drivers that are not even there. It's run by AI and robotics. And then what happens with housing? Well, you move in with your parents. And that's not maybe something that you thought would happen in the American dream. You certainly weren't sold that in commercials and ads about America and well-being. And so living with your parents or sharing roommates, having roommates is not very independent. And so a lot of these things can be very stressful when you're told something or programmed into something, but it's not actually happening in reality. And let me tell you something, it never was. Because colleges always increase their tuition, making it a tunnel or a maze that you have to walk through to get a government loan. And so it's all just a funnel system. And that's just about education. We haven't even started about health care. You see, health care in America is not really health at all. It's called sick care. What they do is they give you processed food to eat. They put it on sale in the grocery stores. And they know that these ingredients are banned in other countries, but we sell them here, and sometimes under the guise of healthy food. And then when you do get sick because of the stress and because of the lack of nutrition, they send you to the sick care. And that's when you get chemotherapy for your cancer. And that's when you get on all kinds of heart medication and diabetes medication. And so these drug companies, which make money on the New York Stock Exchange, really get money for their shareholders when you're sick. And the sicker you are, the more they make bank. And so I want you to see that all of that stuff is coming to light, and the systems need to crumble. And we haven't even started to talk about the correctional system. The correctional system has nothing to do with correcting anyone. It's not rehabilitation. Even in the adolescent unit, juvenile detention units that I worked in, they're not about recovering someone from criminal behavior. It's more about housing. And who gets paid the most money for the amount of people that are housed in the correctional system? Well, it's privatized. So these are private corporations that make money based on the amount of people that are in prison. So you can see that America is all about corporation. Yeah, it's all about money, and you already knew that. But what I'm trying to convey to you is see beyond the programming, see beyond the veil of deception that is within all of our systems, not just the sick care system, the correctional system, the prison housing system that also creates free labor based on the people that are in prison. Just have them do labor for free. And years ago, that was called slavery. So I want you to see that these systems that America touts as the American dream and apple pie, it shows you that story, which is an illusion. But it also is giving you the reality if you are able to see it. See through the veil of deception and then see the reality. So in 2016, I woke up to all of these systems. I knew that the banking system is corrupt and is failing. I knew that the correctional system and the government system is corrupt and failing. And so that didn't necessarily scare me, but it set me on a path of preparation. And we can prepare ourselves emotionally, physically, mentally, and mostly spiritually for what is here and what is coming. The political system that we have right now is a fascist or dictatorship where the police, military are used to enforce non-compliance. Non-compliance is seen as colleges or students at universities protesting maybe what's happening in the Middle East, and then they want to crack down on that using the military, National Guard, or punishing the colleges for allowing the students to protest in the first place, to have an opinion. So fascism wants to clamp down on opinions, clamp down on the way that you think independently of that system that has been programming you to think America is a certain way. And not just America, this can be used in other countries, but I'm speaking of America right now because we're going through what appears to be a crisis. I want to talk about that crisis and how it pertains to you, because one of the things that can happen is that you can get caught up in the chaos because you see the news every day. Now it's harder to hide now because you have an app for news, you have it on your phone, your friends will text you. It's on TikTok immediately. Everybody has a cell phone, so they're taking pictures and videos. And we saw what happened with George Floyd because a 15-year-old had a camera and was taking the video. Without that video, would we have had protests all over the world protesting against police violence? No, we wouldn't have. And so everybody is a news reporter or an anchor. And so when that happens, we get this influx of information. And not only that, because of AI, we don't even know what's real. We don't even know if wars are real or if it's just a rumor of war with AI attached to it. And so we really need to have an inner peace or an inner knowing or an inner intuition that lets us know, oh, this is real and that's fake, or I don't believe that, I don't believe in bird flu, I think it was just a way to scare people and the most people at one time. And when we scare people, that is an influx of energy that is used by that chaotic energy that's happening. And so we don't want to be a part of that. And that's why in my teachings, I talk about how to not get involved and caught up in that chaotic energy. And one of the ways, the major way, is to not give in to fear. My name is Dr. Carmen Smith, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And my doctorate is in pastoral counseling with a degree in metaphysics. And so one of the things that I talk about is spirituality and how we can get our emotions, our mental health, and everything, our physical body aligned with our spiritual inner peace and harmony. And so I'm offering a training. It's an advanced training, and I'm going to go into how you navigate these times by accessing your inner peace, your inner sovereign being. In other words, this sovereignty means that you're not just looking at the outside and it's affecting your inside. Oh no, you have more power than that. If you access, and when you access your inner peace, your inner being, your inner divine self, the outside has no influence over this. You have influence over the outside. I'm going to teach you all of that. It may sound complicated right now, but I'm going to break it down in the advanced training. Now, I was 22 years, actually longer than that, in child welfare. So I was a therapist working with abused and neglected children, also working with the parents of those children that had had a lot of trauma in their life. So it was hard for them to parent because they were still stuck in their trauma. They're not bad people. They just had a lot of hurt and a lot of anger stuck inside their tissues. It was affecting their emotions. It was affecting their mentality. And so I know what trauma can do. And we're living in traumatic times right now. I don't want that to affect your tissues, your emotions, your mentality. I want you to stay a sovereign, powerful being while these systems are collapsing. And like I talked about earlier, we want those systems to collapse. In their place is going to be things that are more suitable for every human being. And it's going to come from the heart. And so right now is a time for us to prepare mentally, emotionally for the crumbling, for the falling down of these structures that we've been told are just a dream. They're actually a nightmare, and that's why we want them to crumble. But if you're not in that mindset, it can be scary. So the advanced training, just click on the link. It'll guide you on how to sign up, and I'll see you in the advanced training. Love you. I want you to understand the chaos, the apparent chaos that's going on in the US and around the world. I think when you understand and you know about it, you're better prepared to float above it. So it's not about ignoring the chaos. It's about learning how to surf the wave, even though there's stormy water going on underneath. I'm going to be talking about ways that you can do that. Without this information, you can get caught up in the tide, and it's going to swing right and swing left and go up and down and all over, and you're just going to be in there like a washing machine, just being turned around and turned around. That can be very confusing, and it can be very scary. And when that gets into your tissues, that means that your physicality is going to suffer more illness, more sickness, more depression. And so we don't want that. What we want is for you to have inner sovereignty. That means that you're in control of your emotions. You go not with the tide of chaos, but with your own peace and the reality that you're creating from your own experiences. We talked about earlier how information is just quick. It's on your phone, it's with your friends, they're texting you, you're looking at the news, however you get your information. And those experiences can really have an effect on your emotional and physical and mental body. But I don't want that to be you. I don't want you to be caught up in that. We were never meant to experience all of these things by our phone and by our news channels. We're supposed to be experiencing them based on the emotions that we're creating from within ourselves. So I'm going to teach you how to find that peace, that inner peace, how to find that joy. I mean, just joy, having a joyful moment and creating from that joyful moment is really precious. One of the things that I'm going to be talking about in the advanced training is collective consciousness. And a lot of mental health professionals don't talk about collective consciousness, even though Carl Jung specifically talked about it. That some of these emotions that we experience, they're not coming from us. They're coming from this energy that, no, you can't see it, but we're in a soup of everybody else's thoughts and everybody else's negativity and everybody else's anger and everybody else's guilt, shame. All of those things are floating around in this energy. And so once you understand that sometimes when you feel anxious and you're going, wait a minute, my life is pretty good. Why am I anxious? Was it that news story? What was it? Well, yes, it was that news story, but it was also the collective consciousness feeding into that news feed, getting their own emotions in there, and it's in the field. It's in the collective consciousness field. That means that it's open for you as well, especially if you were at a lower emotional state in the first place. So what I'm going to teach you is that you're more susceptible to fall into the apparent chaos if you're already at a sense of sadness, hopelessness, and victimization. that is an area where you don't even want to dwell. You don't even want to stick your toe in that, because what's going on in the planet right now is conducive for that takeover of emotional lower frequency. I'm going to talk about frequency. I'm going to talk about vibration. I'm not the only one that's talking about this. As a matter of fact, it was Nikola Tesla who said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. What I'm going to teach you is that the secret to your happiness, your joyfulness, well, it has to do with your energy, your frequency, and your vibration. And all of this apparent chaos, well, they're counting on your frequency to be low, to be in anger. And as Michelle Obama said, when they go low, that's when we go high. So I'll see you in the advanced course. Love you.